Not every friend that I had, like they probably didn't say it, but they don't get like why I got married at 24 years old.
Not everyone is supposed to get married yet. I just always thought that marriage was like a lot of fighting. And
like I put a ring on her hand, but I can't see her naked. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Finally, we got another Sip with the Spinellis episode coming at you. It's been too long since August, but back with another one. You guys seem to like them, so we'll start firing them out more.
My hair is short now, so you can tell it's been a minute since we filmed.
Yeah, Cass got a little shop.
Just cut my hair, but today I'm drinking, I made this little latte and then espresso because I didn't want to go get coffee. So there's like brown sugar in it and it's just really yummy.
And then my drink while we're sipping with the Spinellis is a protein shake from Clean Simple Eats. It's not sponsored, but they're good proteins. This is maple donut. Tastes like a maple donut. I think we do have a code for that though. What is it?
Code is cass15 for Clean Simple Eats.
Yeah, again, it's not sponsored, but we like to help you guys out, so get you guys a discount on some good protein. Today's video is a young and married Q&A, something that's like not as common in today's world, being young and married. When we got married, I was 24.
Yeah.
Okay, when we got married, I was 24, she was 21, so definitely young by today's standards, especially her. So a lot of people have questions about what that has brought. We're nearing 1 year of marriage, so congratulations. You made it. You made it a year with me.
Yeah.
Many more to come.
Almost.
But yeah, it's been a year almost since we've been married, so we thought we'd open up to a young and married Q&A. We got 58 responses, so again, a lot of responses on this. We appreciate all the participations. We got some really good questions, so we'll kind of dive into some of the questions more a little bit broad that got asked a lot. One that was asked a lot was, were your parents supportive of you getting married young, and what advice would you give to those whose parents aren't supportive?
I feel like our parents were pretty supportive of us, at least like from my perspective. My mom always, I feel like, kind of knew I was gonna get married young and that marriage was a very serious thing for me, so when I found someone who I was gonna marry, it was gonna be pretty quick. And I feel like you weren't that young.
I was 24 when we got married, 24 also when we got engaged.
Yeah.
So my parents were, I think, really happy, honestly, because I didn't really date growing up. I didn't do the whole girlfriend thing in high school or college. I think probably at 24 or 23 is when I met you. They were probably like, is this guy ever gonna get like a girlfriend or get engaged or a wife? Like, we want that process of our lives to start. So yeah, my parents were really excited. Of course, like in the beginning when I told them how serious I was about it, they, you know, asked me questions. They wanted to make sure that like this was right and stuff. But once they met Cass and they saw how we were together, like they were nothing but supportive, like from the very beginning. So I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah, I don't think either of our families were giving us like backlash about anything that had to do with that, which we were very thankful for. But if your parents aren't super supportive, then what should they do?
I would just really like not be too defensive about it to begin with, just because like they are your parents and they just want what's best for you, hopefully. So I would just at first try to hear them out and really hear what their possible like negatives are, or what cons they have with it, and just try to really take those in, digest it, and maybe see, are they right? Like, is it the right time to be married? Are we ready for this? And then if you feel like you are, take what they have to say and explain to them with their points. Don't just be like, I want to get married, or like, this is what we're supposed to do. Be logical with it, be adults about it, be able to have conversations with your parents, hard conversations. And at the end of the day, if you feel like you're ready and they don't, you at least have good conversation. At the end of the day, it's your decision, but they are your parents. You got to be respectful, and you should want to hear what they have to say, because at the end of the day, they have been around longer and they hopefully have your best interest in mind. So they may be thinking of some things that you're not thinking of, and could bring some good points to the situation.
I feel like if anything, if you just tell them like, well, here's the reasons that I want to get married, you know, and then if they're just still giving you some sort of backlash, like ultimately it's your life, and if you feel like that is what you're supposed to do, then you're just gonna have to go against that.
The next question is, do you have a hard time relating to your friends that are not married? Which is the majority of our friends.
Yeah, the majority. I feel like yeah. Especially meeting new friends, I think, who aren't married. Like some of my friends who I even had before me and you ever met, like it's a little different, but meeting new friends who are single, or even if they're just like dating someone, I don't know, it's a little different, because I'm just like, well, I'm a whole wife, like I have dinners to cook, and you know, not like you don't cook dinner, but you know what I mean. It's just like a different like mindset, I feel like, that's going on. I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm not the most like outgoing, have a lot of friends person to begin with. So for me, nothing has really changed because like I didn't, like when I had friends before, like I didn't care if they were in a relationship or married or whatever stage of life. I think my friends that I have are more activities that we do together, you know, instead of friends that talk or dig deep with, which maybe is an issue on mine, and I should try to find more friends like that. But I think the majority of my friends are more like we do similar activities and we like doing those things more than let's have like serious deep talks. It really hasn't changed too much for me. So.
I feel like girls like to talk a lot more, and so there's definitely certain things that I would only talk about to my friend. Well, yeah, I only have really one friend who's married, and then one of my friends just got engaged, and I feel like just her stepping into that season of life, I'm like, we're gonna have so much more to talk about now because we're both gonna be married. And so I think it is a little bit hard to relate to friends who are single or just dating.
But that's really just life in general. There's definitely stages of life where your friendships change and you just change as a person, and like there's nothing wrong with that. It's sad to a degree, but at the same time, like that's just part of life. Friendships are gonna change no matter what decisions you make in life.
Yeah.
A lot of the questions we got revolved around hate or criticism for getting married young, so we're gonna address that. So how do you react positively to hate/criticism about getting married young? Any tips for young couples who hear a lot of backlash about young marriage?
I feel like in person with our families and friends, we didn't get any backlash at all. If anything, it was just like people online, and most of the times like the comments and the hate are people who don't even follow us, so it's like random people seeing our stuff. Like certain subjects, my personality is just like I really do not care what you have to say. I don't know, I feel like little stuff like that doesn't really affect me. I feel like more personal stuff would affect me, but that's like,
I mean,
everyone has different views on marriage, and most people online think young marriage is like not okay.
We put our lives out there. We are susceptible to criticism, and that's just kind of something that you deal with. And like at first I didn't deal with it well, but I think I've definitely learned. It really comes down to hurt people.
Yeah.
And I have to understand, and you have to understand, that when people are being mean, the majority of it, if it's coming from people who don't know you personally, you can't take offense to that because they're hurting. The only reason someone, like if you're happy, if you're healthy, you're not gonna go on the internet and be tearing people apart for what they're doing. Like, you don't have the time for that. You're too successful for that. There's no reason to do that. So if someone's online tearing you apart, their life probably sucks.
Yeah.
They're not succeeding, and so they see other people succeeding, or they see other people found love, and they want to tear it down. So as far as like online or strangers, I could care really not at all what anyone says. As far as people in your life, that would be a problem because you probably care. But I would just, again, it comes down to communication, and at the end of the day, if you're being mature and you're being responsible and you know what you're setting yourself up for, there's people who should not be getting married young, and they're not in a good position to get married young, and there's people who are in a good position to get married young. It's really a case-to-case basis, and I'm not going to be someone who like got married young and saying like everyone should do it, like it's the right thing for everybody. It's not the right thing for everybody. If you're getting hate or criticism from families, you need to take a step back and be like, okay, are they just being jerks, or do they actually have solid point? If you have no money in your bank account, if you don't have a solid job, like there's a bunch of different reasons why maybe you're not ready to get married, and they're telling you those reasons, you should probably listen. So it's a tough thing to juggle.
I think that like honestly everything can be solved with a conversation. I'm just a big person, like communicate. And so if someone's like really giving you a lot of hate, someone that you know in your life, just sit down with them and be like, why are you speaking to me this way? Like, what is your problem with me getting married and stuff? And if they are truly like list all the reasons, then just be like, okay, like I'll take that into consideration, you know? Or if they're just like a total jerk and they're like, whoop, you know what I mean? Then like, there's your answer. They're just upset. And
when it comes to family or friends, you're going to have different values and what you want out of your life. I would guarantee that probably not every friend that I had, like they probably didn't say it, but they don't get why I got married at 24 years old. You're gonna want different things than family and friends. So you can't expect everyone to be on the same stage as you. You can't expect everyone to have the same thought about something, and they don't know your relationship. You kind of just have to give them a little grace. But I mean, if it is getting really toxic, you just gotta maybe just take a step back and know that it could be coming out of a place of jealousy. Like if it's not actually for them wanting the best for you, they could be just trying to hurt you. And at that point, you kind of have to make decisions and put people in your life that are gonna build you up and not tear you down. So. Okay, this is something I believe you've asked before, and if I can find the video, I'll put it up here. But how do you manage to put God first in your marriage?
Oh yeah, I feel like we've talked about that.
We've talked about that, so we won't go
quite
too deep into it. But
I think definitely something is realizing that your relationship with God is above your spouse and your partner, and that like if your relationship with God isn't healthy, then none of your relationships in your life are going to be healthy. I don't know. For me, it's just like God has to be first, or nothing else is going to work. Like it's not even an option. But just like little things that we do in day to day. We used to read our devos together, but we kind of don't do that anymore just because we like to read at different times and stuff. But definitely praying together and just
going to church together.
Yeah, going to church together, talking about the sermons together, listening to worship music together. Is there anything that we need to pray for? You know, just keeping that.
Yeah, we pray a lot together. We talk about what we read together. We talk about sermons. We maybe a podcast we listen to. We're very like communicative with that. But yeah, I completely agree how important it is. I would say that I definitely learned that early on in our relationship. I was really in a good place with God before we started dating, and I think when we started dating originally, I kind of was like, oh, thanks God for this amazing gift. And then I kind of just, I didn't stop being a Christian, but I definitely wasn't as consistent with reading my Bible. I wasn't as consistent with just like seeking God, and I started to like put too much of an emphasis on you and you making my happiness and all of that stuff, and it got really like, it didn't get toxic, but it definitely became like I was putting too much pressure on you to fulfill like the hole that God needed to fill in my life, and doing stuff like that. So if you put your spouse or your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your fiance, whatever, as the number one priority in your life, as much as you think that's actually going to make your relationship better, it's actually going to make it worse. Because if they're the number one priority, it's not going to work out, because you're putting too much pressure on them, you're putting too much pressure on yourself, and you just become a toxic almost person. My relationship with God is more important than our relationship, but then before all that, before job, before like anything else, it's me and you. So it's like once you set those boundaries, you're going to be able to love your significant other much better with them being the second most important thing in your life than the first. And that's facts. Big facts. Super good question here. Did you always plan on getting married young?
I feel like for me, growing up, I just kind of assumed I would. I don't know, I kind of wanted to get married right out of college, but then I didn't have a boyfriend, so then I didn't think I was gonna get married young. Like when we met, then I was like, oh, we're gonna get married. But I don't know, I just feel like I always kind of knew how to get married young.
Honestly, no, I did not think that. Maybe when I was a kid, yeah, I thought like, oh yeah, I'll be young and married. But like, I think as I grew up in high school and college, not that I didn't want to get married, but I didn't see marriage in my future, right? So if you're not dating people, you're not meeting those people, you don't have those experiences, as those years progress, you're going to be like, is there anyone out there for me? You know, the world got crazy. People of my values and my morals were not out there anymore. I wasn't meeting many of them. And if they were young and married, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I didn't know if there was anyone out there for me. I didn't know if that's what God had for me. And even if I thought I would like get a girlfriend or whatever, I was never someone who thought I would get married as quickly as we did. We talked for a couple months, but when we officially started dating, it was 6 months, so we got engaged, and it was 11 months or almost a year that we got married. Quick, definitely by the world standards, but to me, once we were in that relationship, it felt like a lifetime, right? It felt, I was like, oh, it felt so long. I never understood that until we were in that relationship. I honestly didn't think I was gonna get married young. I wasn't expecting to. You were 21 when we got married. I know I personally wasn't ready at 21 to get married. So it's individually if you're ready. And I know at 21, I wouldn't have been ready. At 24, I was. So I think everyone's different in what young looks like for them.
Yeah, I feel like even at 20, I wouldn't have been ready. Like just me personally, you know, I just feel like, you know, if you can be married and like be ready for that.
Overall, has marriage exceeded your expectations? My husband and I got married at 20 and 21 and love it. We're bigger advocates for young marriage now more than ever. P.S. Lopes up. Lopes up. Go Lopes. Has marriage exceeded your expectations?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I love being married. It's so fun.
I don't know like what expectations, I can't really like remember what expectations I had going into it. It's been the most fun year. Being together the last 2 years has been the most fun. I learn like more about you every day. I feel like I become a better person every day.
Yeah, I agree.
We just build together and we travel together, and
I feel like, well, everyone growing up is different, but I feel like for me, I thought we would have so many more problems in our marriage. Like not us, but just like me being married in general. I just always thought that marriage was like a lot of fighting, and I thought that marriage was a lot more like tense.
Yeah, throughout like our life. Like I'm not naive enough to think that it's always going to be like the easiest thing in the world, but like this first year has been, I mean, there's been like ups, like it's hard being away from like family and friends. Like we live across the country from everyone. Like there's definitely hard parts, but I would say in our relationship, like we've really grown, we've really like strengthened it. I would say marriage has exceeded my expectations just based on the fact of how fun it is just to build a life with a person. And your goals don't matter anymore, it's what are our goals. And I think that's something that is really fun for me, is what kind of house we want to live in, you know, when we're like gonna raise a family one day. Like what kind of house we want to have, like what kind of businesses do we want to have, what kind of like people do we want to be in the community. And that's really fun for me because I feel like that's something I've always wanted, is to be in that stage of life, and so to build that and to see dreams coming true for us is really fun. And it's not so much my dreams or your dreams individually, it's what are our dreams, like what do we want to do, and how can we help people, and how can we give back to like our community and stuff like that. It's been fun. So I would say like once you find that person and you know you found it when you find it, marriage is good as long as you every day are trying to be the best for that person. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong with marriage, is they try to hurt the other person if they're hurt, and they don't do their best, and they don't care. And so I think when that goes away, that's when marriage becomes tough. But if you're trying your best for that person and you know what makes them happy and you know what makes them sad, you know what makes them mad, and you use all of that to be the best husband and wife you can, there's going to be tough things in marriage, but it's not as hard as people make it out to be. It is hard, and I know people are in different situations than us, and I understand that. But I would say there's hard situations, but people make it harder on themselves by the way they treat their spouse. And I think that's a big thing I learned.
The way that you speak to each other is like a huge thing, I think.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I completely understand that people are in different situations and just what's happened in their life, but you just have to speak nicely. You have to act nicely. You have to be kind. And some people who are married choose not to do that to each other. This one I feel like I get all the time, and especially like in comment sections, people will talk about this or about other people who got married young. It's about missing out on the young things since we got married young. So I guess like the young and single things, like going out and partying and sleeping around and you know, doing that whole lifestyle that the world, you know, has, you know, made cool, I guess, in their eyes.
What was the question?
Like, do you feel like you're missing out on the young life since you got married young?
Oh, well, I don't think so, because neither of us did those things anyways when we were single. Those
things the world teaches you as cool or that you have to do, you don't have to do any of it.
No, it's actually not that cool.
And even if you do it, once you get married, that's going to bring hurt into your marriage. And I think that's one thing that's really like helped our marriage is, of course, we both have, you know, everyone has some baggage and everyone has some things that's gone on and some experiences. But when you're overloading that baggage as someone who's going out, sleeping around, doing a ton of things, getting drunk, making bad decisions, you're bringing a lot of baggage into a marriage in the future. And that's going to create problems. And so no, I don't, I'm sitting at home watching a movie on a Friday night with her, like after a nice dinner, like I don't want to be at a club. There's no ounce of me that wants to be at a club.
Literally
There's no ounce of me that wants to be like stumbling around the street going to the next bar. That's not fun.
Not fun to us, and like that's not even how we lived anyway. So I feel like definitely not missing out on that.
I don't want to be living in some gross guy apartment where I have 3 roommates. Like I don't want
like dating, especially. I know we haven't been married that long, but like especially in today's world, I feel like dating is like the worst thing ever.
I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything, and not only that, I know how amazing like marriage is and can be, and so in my mind, I'm getting that for as long as I can get it.
Like you're getting that for earlier than people who would be doing these things or something.
So I have no regrets. Do I feel like I'm missing out on anything?
No.
Not at all. This is a good question. How do you know if you are ready to get married young or need to wait a little bit longer?
I feel like we kind of already touched on that and just saying like not everyone is supposed to get married young, but I feel like in your relationship you'll just be able to tell.
I feel like there's different aspects between in your relationship and in your personal life that all go together, right? Like you can't be unemployed and ready to get married. You probably shouldn't be living with your parents. There's situations, but good to have lived by yourself or live with other people.
By yourself or like, you know, in another situation from home is so important to have before you're going into a marriage, because like us living together is so much different than like when I was living at home or something. And so I feel like almost when you're at college or, you know, wherever you go and you live with someone else. It's kind of like prepping you for like living with someone else.
So I mean, there's things, your finances, your living situation, but then there's things in your relationship. Like, do you have the same goals? If you don't have the same goals, that's gonna create problems. Do you have the same morals?
Yeah.
Who do you pray to? Like, what do you do when things go bad? How do you treat people when they don't treat you right? There's just so many things that go into it. So I would say it's really relationship to relationship. How deep have you gotten? You know, have you gotten deep? Because marriage is deep. You find out things about someone that no one else knows. Yeah. You know, there's things about you and how you react to situations that no one else would know. And there's same for me. You see those things in a person. So if you are in a relationship where you don't dig deep, you don't fully seek that conversation, you're not going to be ready, because there's things you're going to find out about someone that you maybe didn't know about, and it's not good for you, you know. But like, I would say for us, we got so deep so fast, and we got to know each other so deep that I knew I was never really surprised about anything. Once we got married, you know. I knew who you were as a person, and I knew you were right for me. I would say that's something big as far as like, how do you know you're ready? If your relationship is deep. And I think our dating relationship looked different than other dating relationships, because since we were long distance, we didn't have like, you know, these fun mini golf dates and like these fun little trips to the movies and like, let's go grab dinner and then ice cream and like chill. We had to talk. We had to get in really deep. So I mean, relationships move at different places, but overall, if you're ready, you're gotta be at least, no one's ever gonna be fully ready financially. You're young. But you have to be in a spot where you guys are gonna at least be able to survive, not living like with your parents or like family or friends, you know. Have a decent job, have goals for the future, have similar goals for the future. I didn't understand, like, if you know, you know, before I met you, but I truly believe when you know, you know.
You'll just know, so.
You'll know who that person is, like, that you're supposed to marry, and when you're supposed to marry. Like, if we would have met a couple years earlier, we would have dated a lot longer. You know what I'm saying?
I personally would not have gotten married in college.
No, we met at that time that was perfect for us. You know, so if we would have met earlier, even though I would have known I was supposed to marry you, it wouldn't have been the right time. Advice you would give a single person now that you're married.
It's so tough, because my first thing is I want to say, like, don't date a bunch of people, but then it's like, well, how are you gonna find someone you're supposed to marry if you don't date? You know what I mean? I feel like we had very different dating situations, and I wish that I dated less people. I don't know, you didn't date anyone, so like, it's just very different.
I dated. I never had a serious
girlfriend. When you're single, that is just so much time for you to work on yourself and like find hobbies that you like to do and set yourself up for success, so that when you do meet someone, you're already at such a good spot.
Yeah, I mean, as the person who was single for most of their life, like I can make a whole video on this, but I would say it really comes down to is not settling and not being like, I have to be married by this age, I have to be married by this age. God's plan is bigger and better than anything you can imagine. Not having an expectation on when it happens, but having expectations on who that person should be. So if I'm speaking to a single girl, you need to be marrying someone who fits your values, right? So if you're a young Christian woman, you need to be marrying a man of God who's gonna set a house on the values of God, on the values of the Bible, who's gonna be able to lead your house. So if that's what you want out of life and that's who you want your husband, you shouldn't be dating the guy who, you know, is out on the weekends and getting plastered drunk and texting a bunch of girls, and you can't settle. And so that's the biggest thing is
don't even waste your time.
You need to have a list of non-negotiables, and it's not about their looks, it's non-negotiables about their character and who they are as a person. And you can't feel bad for waiting for that person. When that's right and when God brings that person, you'll be so thankful. I'm so thankful I didn't go do all that stuff, because I could have, you know. I wanted to feel love from someone. Like, it didn't feel good being alone all the time and like not having someone there. Like, it sucked, you know. But like, as soon as God brought you into my life, like, that was such a light bulb moment for me, where it's like thank you, God, for giving me the strength that whole time to not become someone I wasn't. You know, and I'm so grateful for that, and
well,
I'll
always
and will be.
Like, even as like on the receiving end, you know, for him to not have like a bunch of exes, that's so much like relief.
We're not saying don't date. Like, you obviously have to date in order to get married.
I'm just saying not like a million people.
Just be careful. Keep your heart guarded, I would say, is one thing, and have expectations that person needs to hit, and don't feel bad about having that. My last piece of advice would be intentional with your life. If all you do is work and just go home, or work, go to the gym, go home, you can complain all you want that you're single and stuff, but you're not putting yourselves in situations to meet somebody. I've had friends who are like, I'm like, go to this group, go to this church group, you know, go meet someone there, and they feel bad for that. They're like, I don't want to go meet people just to find a girl. I'm like, you don't have to go to find a girlfriend, but just find community. You know, there's nothing wrong with finding community, because maybe someone you meet there, maybe their best friend, that's your future wife. You don't know what God has put in your life, so you don't need to be going places to like search for a boyfriend or girlfriend, but just go in and find community and meet people and meet people and meet people. Just be intentional and be patient, have standards.
Yeah.
This one's a pretty quick answer for me. Do you ever wish you were engaged longer?
No. I personally think as much time as you think you need to plan a wedding, that's how long you should be engaged for. I don't know, unless there's like other reasons, like you're doing long distance while you're engaged, or like, you know, other factors into it. But
I'm all in for dating as long as you need to an extent, but once you are engaged to that person, like, you don't need a year. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you get to the point where you're gonna ask someone to marry them, you should be at a spot that however long it needs to take a wedding and to get marriage counseling, like, that's as long as it should be.
Yeah.
Well, especially for someone who, you know, is a Christian and wants to live the right way, like, engagement is just blue balls, you know? Oh my gosh. Like, I put a ring on her hand, but I can't see her naked. Like, that sucks. It's the worst. It's absolutely the worst. So it's like, once you get to the point where you're like ready to be married to that person, let's get this process going, you know? I don't wish I was engaged longer.
I think
Plus,
5 months was plenty.
No one's gonna say this. Planning a wedding sucks. Let's be honest. I hated it.
I didn't really hate it.
Okay, well, I did, because you're constantly spending money on something, and I don't know. It's fun in that season, but after that season's over, you're like, get out of here.
After you're done planning, you're like, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah, I don't wish I was.
But I think it was fun to end the season.
What made you know for sure each other was the one and that you all wanted to get married so soon? I think we kind of touched on that.
I feel like we've answered this a million times.
I knew who you were. I knew that you were who I was supposed to be with. It was clear from God. The time, as far as the soon, like, timing just matched up. I was done with school, you were done with school, we were living in different states. We wanted to stay true to who we were. We weren't gonna be living together, you know, dating and all that. And it's just, I knew and you knew, and if we were financially ready to do it, if you know and you're financially ready to do it, there's no reason to not get married.
No.
So
personally, that's how I feel.
As long as you've had the conversations needed again, like we were deep enough in our relationship where I knew we were gonna get married, I knew we'd be together forever.
Yeah.
Was not worried about it. There was no reason to keep dating. There was no reason to keep dating. There was nothing more a dating relationship could have brought us.
Yeah. Well, and like, kind of going back to the other topic, I would want to be married to you for as long as possible. Yeah. You know? So if we were dating for like 4 years, it's like, well, there's 3 years that we could have been married.
Well, and that's the thing a lot of people will say as far as like the negative. It's like live your life longer and do this. And it's like, why would I want to live my life longer with a girlfriend? Yeah. You know, like, I want to build a life with a wife. Yeah. People don't understand that, though. You want to have like wife privileges and stuff, because there's a lot of girlfriends out there doing wife things when you're not even married, but there's no ring there or anything. So which that creates problems. Yeah, exactly. And that's why relationships don't work out. Is people take things that are meant for marriage, and that's not even just sex. That's literally anything. I mean, when you're living together and you're building habits together and you're buying cars together, you're doing so, and then it ends, it just creates problems. So I mean, once you're ready, financially, spiritually, mentally, don't rush into anything. That's something that I'm gonna say as like someone who got married young, is like, every relationship is different. And 2 years before, if we would have met, I would not have been ready to be engaged in 6 months. But where I was at then, I was. Every relationship is different. There's no need to rush. Everything will happen in God's timing, but just be open to, you know, whatever that is. So that's what I would say. Yeah. All right, next question. Getting engaged soon and married next fall. Congratulations. That's exciting. I'm 22. What financial advice do you have for saving for a wedding and planning for a future marriage at a young age when you don't have that much saved up yet? So I think we have 2 financial questions that we're going to talk about. This one's more about saving. So what would you have to say about that?
Weddings are expensive. I feel like even if you try to do them as inexpensive as possible, things are gonna add up, unless you just like elope or something, or like go to a courthouse or something. But if you're actually having a wedding and if you're paying for it yourself, it's gonna add up. You need to start saving money like today.
I would say, as far as saving, the most important thing is, as much as a wedding is awesome and it's something you'll always remember, it's just a really good start to a marriage. Starting off your marriage on the right foot financially is more important than having the biggest, baddest wedding. So I would just really try to, as far as saving for a wedding and being married, really make sure that whatever you spend on a wedding, you at least have that amount in your bank account to start off, because life is crazy, things happen, obstacles happen, emergencies happen. You need to make sure that you're setting your marriage up for success and not being broke because of a wedding right after that, because that's going to create problems directly in a marriage, and that's going to create arguments and fighting. And that's not saying you can't have a fun wedding. There's definitely ways to budget. So what I would say for a wedding is before anything, before you book anything, before you book a venue, date, whatever, you need to set a budget, and it needs to be a firm budget. And when that budget is you need to not just set a budget, but a budget for everything. Do your research.
Yeah.
But here's what we can do for a venue. Here's what we can do for a DJ. Here's what we can do for food. And just go down the list, add that up, and see if that total can make sense. And then you can start saving for that total, and be really strict with yourself. Don't let yourself go over that, because once you let yourself go over that with one, it's gonna be 2, 3, 4, and you're just gonna have this big, crazy wedding. I mean, we even got married on a Tuesday in December to save money.
Yeah.
So being young and married, and if you don't have your parents' help as far as a wedding, or not have a lot of help, it's important to make sacrifices in order to have the best wedding you can possible, because you want to have a good wedding. We had an awesome wedding. We had such a fun wedding, but we definitely saved money. I don't regret anything about our wedding. It was awesome. It was the most fun. We saved money in ways that we made our beginning of our marriage a lot easier.
Yeah.
So that's what I would recommend.
As far as saving money, like not with a wedding, make a budget for your day-to-day life. Like, okay, this is how much our rent is, this is how much everything is, and then figure out how much you guys are making, and then make sure that you're setting money aside to save.
I think that goes kind of along with the next question. So the next person asked, how do you juggle each other's spending habits? My husband doesn't understand the significance of saving money, and we are trying to save up and buy a house. I don't want to tell him what to do, but it's a real gut punch when he is constantly throwing money down the drain.
That's so frustrating. If you do have the same bank account already, I would be like, no, you're done spending our money.
I believe that every married couple should have a joint account.
Yeah.
Because that creates first the issue of, if you don't, my money's my money, I'll spend it how I want. My money's my money, I'll spend it how I want. And then you spend your money, and then there's nothing to come together for the stuff in the middle. So I think truly to be financially healthy and to make your marriage healthy financially, you have to have a joint account. And then once you have that joint account, you're putting that money in together. You're having two people's salaries on one account. You're just going to be growing that. And then once you can figure out what's kind of like an average money you guys are bringing in together, then you can set your budget. There's a 50, 30, 20 rule. So it's like 50% what you need, right? So your mortgage, your rent, car payments, insurance, health insurance, like all the stuff that you need, groceries, all that, then your wants. So if you're spending 30% a month on like your wants, so that's going to be like eating out. You don't have to eat out. You can eat food at home. It's going to be cheaper. So eating out, entertainment, getting coffee out, just things that you want to do and you have the money to spend, but setting a limit on it, okay? So if you know I have $750 as a couple that we can spend on things that we want that month, that sets a limit. So you know if you hit that in a month, you're done for this month. You're done for this month. You have like 20% left, either like 10% in savings, 15% in savings, 10% in investing. It's very important to be able to invest your money to make it work for you past that. So as much as you can put towards saving and investing early in your marriage, the better your marriage is going to be financially, and the more money you're going to have to use later. I would say be really strict with the budget, but also be reasonable. The world's crazy right now, so if at this point you can't put 30% in savings and investing together, like that's okay now, but really try to make steps to that in the future. Last tip, best tip, get a joint credit card or a couple of joint credit cards, and every month go through the bank statement together. Every month I go to Cass, I say, what was this? What was this?
And I'm literally
like, she probably gets annoyed of it, but I honestly think it helps our spending.
How does that happen?
Because sometimes Cass can be like, oh, I like this, like this, like this, and then like she's like, oh, but this was only this much, this was only this much, but it adds up. And so I think when I show her the bank statement, it kind of like hits her in the head like, oh, that added up quickly this month.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, and so it's
every single month I go, how did we spend that much?
Go through the bank statement every month. Don't just blindly pay it off. Make sure you pay it off, obviously, but just go through it and really try to figure out, do we need this? Do we not? Obviously, have fun. Just be smart and be reasonable and spend what you can spend for fun things now, but also make sure you're saving and investing for your future and for fun things later. I think that's it. You got anything else?
I don't think so. We've been talking for like an hour.
I know. Well, these are kind of podcast long form episodes, but again, in today's world, being young and married, it's not only like not as common, it's looked down upon. And so, but some people do have that wanting to be young and married, so being able to be people and give like advice or our point of view, like I enjoy doing. So hopefully this video helped you guys out and you enjoyed what we had to say.
If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. There's so many new faces around here, so thank you to all of our new subscribers for being here. I
think we're up to like 7,000 subscribers now, which is like 2,000 or 3,000 more than we had last month, so it's crazy. So if you're new here, we got a lot of cool, exciting things coming up here in the future. So yeah, thanks for watching.
We love you, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Peace.